super glue, bicarb soda, and activator. I love all of them, and none of them really love me back. When I first bought activator, it seemed like magic. And as someone on the constant hunt for instant gratification, that's bloody nuts. Oh dear. Before I had access to this incredible marvel of chemistry, I used this, baking soda. Now we can do a similar thing with baking soda. This also sets the super glue pretty fast. In its stead though, it kind of leaves a little mound. This mound is actually secretly kind of cool because it's entirely sandable. This piece I'm working on at the moment could do with a bit of filling, and I just do that. In the same way I might use gap filler, but use a little bit of bicarb soda instead. And now we can sand it back. Now we filled that gap. It kind of looks like weld lines. It's got its own texture. We can definitely be more precise though. This is ultra thin super glue. It usually has a label, this one doesn't, but the viscosity is much thinner than the other stuff. Now with this, we can very precisely get in that gap. And then sprinkle. In the same way, we can sand it back. That looks good. Now here, this void is definitely quite big. So we can actually lay down the bicarb soda first, brush it off. We can use the low viscosity of the super glue, fill that gap pretty level, and sand. Nice. I was just demonstrating this, but I might as well finish it. This looks like a big solid thing rather than things made from things. If that makes sense. I also have some gaps on this model I'm working on that I could also use bicarb soda for. Here I've used modeling putty to do that, but I could do the same job with bicarb soda. Like, there's a little gap in here. Put some bicarb soda on that. Super glue thin, and whoop, Bob's your uncle, mate. Now this is one solid piece. Really pack it in, bit of glue. Oh, mate. And give it a sand if you want. Or not, it's good texture. Now if you're gonna use super glue, especially the thin stuff, you've gotta know how to get it off your hands. So I got a bit of super glue on the tip of my finger. Acetone, the same stuff that's in nail polish remover. It does say avoid contact with skin. So I wouldn't do this, obviously. But it's gone now. Otherwise, a classic bit of super glue on your finger, just sand it off. That's what I do. Or just let the natural oils in your hand make it fall off in time. It doesn't take that long, but you know, my girlfriend doesn't like it when my hands are scaly. Now the way I discovered the bicarb soda and super glue thing, as a teenager I was trying to make snow bases. And it just disappeared. And it wasn't quite the effect I was looking for. This hack has been documented until the end of the world. I think sharing information and assuming that people don't know information is incredibly important. So let's get into the weeds. In the same way that you can fill gaps with bicarb soda, you can actually do it with activator too. You just need to be really fast, but it will fill these gaps. You can also get some really interesting effects if you can lay on the super glue thick enough, hit it with activator, it'll bubble, it will texture, it will shrink, it will crack. That's a very interesting corrosion effect. It looks wet, but it's dry. With thin super glue, it's the same, but isn't that gnarly? Now I said these things don't love me back. Super glue degrades over time. Like after you've applied it, stuck your models together, over time, those joints get weaker and weaker and weaker, and then those models start falling apart. Nobody really talks about that. Activator is a thermal reaction. If you're using super glue, and a little bit gets on your hand, and you're spraying over here, that vapor can and will drift over and will cause a reaction on that super glue, and that burns like 1,000 suns. It's no joke. And I've got really serious burns from this stuff, and it's just carelessness. So you have to be really, really careful with it. When I work with chemicals, I have this door open and this door open. Oh, that's the wind. It gets a good breeze, but it's still not enough to make me feel good about using this. Maybe when I really need it, when I really need an instant bond. I'm probably going to retire this for the most part. I got a tip for you that you definitely don't know. This is a little face that Berserkworks Bill made. Dust some bicarb soda in here. Bit of thin super glue. Ready? Watch this. Isn't that silly? Definitely not good for the molds. This is an old mold that I'm not using anymore. It wouldn't be good for it. But you could probably do it with a push mold, maybe. We'll see. Maybe. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's a pretty good proof of concept, for sure. You could probably bootleg some shields or something with that. Right, a problem that I have is that after a big hobby sesh, my black clothes, I only wear black, it's all covered in baking soda. So, we're gonna make ourselves a little baking soda tray.
Now, you might be asking yourself, Trent, why are you making your own bloody tray? Just go buy a tray. You might be right, except this is corrugated plastic and it's incredibly light, which means I can just chuck this on top of whatever project I'm working on, whatever mess I've created, and keep working. Previous trays that I've had where I've bought materials, they're too heavy, they crush things, they scratch things up, they break models, but this, I can just chuck it on top of stuff. And I have a big surface area to catch whatever falls.
Super glue holder. Hold your super glue. This is a miniature that I've started kit bashing, and under its neck, there's a bit of a gap. I could really do with some love. We'll get some bicarb and then brush away the areas that we don't really need. And drop some super glue right in the crack. All gap filled, ready to rock. Thank you, Matt, totally not panicking, for the wonderful fish head too. Speaking of, Matt is a fantastic artist who uses a bunch of grit and texture to do his gap filling. And when you paint it, you get beautiful results like this. Someone else who actually prompted this whole video is Matt from Indelible Ink. And I met Matt in Nottingham, and he's an incredible terrain maker, miniature maker. I was blown away by his work. And he said, do you use bicarb soda and super glue? And that's what kicked off this video. So thank you, Matt. This video was meant to end, but totally not panicking. Texture King is currently streaming, and he said that he'll show off his texturing process. So,
all right, Trent, it's your job to make this seem much more interesting than it really is. This is just a mix of baking soda, that's in there for sure, some playground sand, a little bit of dirt, like potting soil dirt, and then crushed granite that you'd have on like a path outside at a garden store. Get a little cup, like a little gremlin, and scoop it up and take some of that. With this model that I've got here, I teach a kit bashing class at Adepticon, and I found this in my bits box the other day. This was just super glue and then dirt from the convention center.
If that sounds like some weird miniature art that you can get behind, I'll leave the full 20-minute explanation from Matt in the description. Matt is who has inspired me the most in my whole entire miniature journey, so